A lot of good games have been released this year, and one genre has particularly caught my attention and surprised me with the amount of love that the developers have been putting into these types of games. We are talking about Souls-like games, so sit back and relax because we are going to talk about Remnant II, a sequel that delivers a better experience than its
predecessor.
If you haven't tried or are hesitating to try out Souls-like games, this might be the right pick for you. Remnant II is a multiplayer RPG action-adventure, third-person looter-shooter with a dark atmospheric vibe. As I've said before, it incorporates Souls-like elements but in a lighter version. It's not as hard compared to other Souls-like games such as Dark Souls, Sekiro, and other similar challenging games you know. We just want to let you know beforehand that this review will be spoiler-free. I'm not going to reveal anything regarding the story or other features in the game that surprised me. I want you to experience the same surprises and enjoy the game at your own pace. After all, why not? These days, we have a ton of reviews on YouTube that provide far more information than necessary. We want to keep this review video as simple as we can, in a sense that you will get a feel for whether this is a game you will enjoy or not. For those who have played Remnant 1, you can tell that the game is good but not excellent. However, Remnant 2 takes us by surprise with the amount of features they've added. It is so extensive, the developers have really outdone themselves on this front. Let us talk about the difficulty of the game. You will be given 3 options to choose from: Survivor, Veteran, and Nightmare. I want to clarify that the best pick for most players is Survivor. Why? Because the difficulty in this game works like a stepping stone. However, if you are a pro at games like this and have played Remnant 1 before, go for a higher difficulty, but I do warn you, this sequel is much harder compared to the first one. When it comes to the classes, at the outset, we are given a choice of 5 classes to choose from, which are the Gunslinger, Medic, Hunter, Challenger, and Handler. Each class has its own skills and passives. Mind you, there isn't really a skill tree in this game. The concept of classes here is pretty straightforward. You need to level up your class and you have to reach certain level in that class to unlock another skill. I only played as a medic, so that's the only class I can give an example from. As a medic, you have 3 skills. Once you unlock a certain skill, you can choose which skill you want, depending on your own playstyle, and this goes for each class in the game. I want to give you a heads up. You don't need to worry too much about which class to pick at first. As you progress in the game, you will be able to acquire different classes which are called archetypes in the game. What makes this game even more fun is that getting all the archetypes is quite a task because they are hidden in the world. Most of the time, I have to search on Google just to figure out what I need to do to get the archetype that is present in the specific world. I am telling you right now, obtaining each archetype purely for the sake of collecting is so much fun and rewarding. If you have played Elden Ring, you'll know what I mean. You don't need these items, but obtaining this incredible loot that isn't easily found just anywhere and knowing most of them are hidden gives you a real sense of achievement. Not just archetypes, but guns that you can use to fight monsters, as well as mods, mutators, and melee weapons are all part of the fun. Speaking of mods, these are skills that you can add to your weapons. Indeed, your primary and secondary guns each have their own skill, and for most of them, you have the freedom to add certain skills to your weapons. This, for me, is an absolute great feature in the game. Mutators, on the other hand, are like boost or added perks for your equipment. The approach to leveling in this game is quite different compared to other games that we or you might have played so far. However, if you have played Warhammer Vermintide 2 or Darktide, you'll find it very similar. In this game, there isn't necessarily a level for your character, but instead, you have a power level. This combines both your archetype level and your weapon level. You will also have traits that represent your passive abilities, but that's the only thing I'm going to tell you regarding this. Just a hint, there are so many things you will uncover in this game that I haven't mentioned in this video. As I've said, I want you to experience the same thrill I did when I first got my hands on this game. I do want to emphasize one point. Exploration is a ton of fun. If you love puzzles, this game will definitely give your brain a good workout. Even I, a puzzle enthusiast, found found myself with a bit of a headache on some parts until I gave up and asked Google for the solution to a particular puzzle. Also, there are puzzles in this game that don't immediately present themselves as such. You might notice something out of the ordinary but assume it's just a decoration. Here's a hint for you. If you ever plan to play this game, a keen eye is the key to finding the answer. I had many of these moments in this game, and for me, it's something truly great that we rarely see in this type of game.
Remnant II is by far a step up when it comes to its visual art direction. It's dark and gritty, and its look reminds me a lot of other Soul-like games, but also stays true to its predecessor. The game is filled with life, details in the world, animation, characters, monsters, and boss design that really impressed us most of the time. I believe that they have really managed to convey a different feeling about how the game looks and feels, with improvements done across the board on cutscenes, facial animations, and lighting in some areas. Although far from being perfect, the game manages to surpass my expectations for a sequel of a game that wasn't really that well received. Some areas will bring a sign of nostalgia and familiarity right as you get to explore the world beyond the first few minutes of the game after entering your base of operation. Speaking about base, you'll notice a slight improvement over the prequel, with multiple characters doing their own things and filling the world with more welcoming and lived-in atmosphere. Some great improvements have been made to the storytelling of the world just by simply exploring. The main base tells its own story, with each area having important elements that carry significant importance in your journey in this fantastical world. Characters have something to tell you, and you get to speak with some of them at a deeper level than before. Voice acting is significantly improved, and it managed to captivate my attention, whereas the first one really struggled to make me pay attention more than the opening scene, to the point of discovering the teleportation crystal. Sound effects are great improvement here too, with a large variety of weapons that look and act different but also sound distinctly different and quite satisfying. Going back to voice acting, this time around your main character is voiced and gets to have a slightly variation based on what you pick. Although you have 4 male presets and 4 female presets, it feels enough to give you a bit of a flavor to your character. Now, while having a voice of your character feels great, the character customization feels a bit off-putting. Not having many options to pick from in character customizations really left me desiring more. It was really difficult to appreciate one preset face from the other, and even if I wanted to pick a different nationality, they all felt somewhat not something I would have envisioned my character to look like. Oftentimes I don't create myself in video games, as I tend to create a fictional character that I tend to think that is how Vacheral looks like. I've been doing this for many years across many games, but for some reason Remnant II fails to make me appreciate its character customization. At the end of the day, I settle with an old face with some unattended hair that I personally regret picking, but really that's all I was able to choose. Luckily though, the face can be covered by a vast amount of beautifully designed armor, and I believe that was the overall intention. Still, I really wish there was more variation in those presets, and I believe Armea felt the same way when it came to her experience with character customization. If I'm given the option to create a character, I like to be able to create it however I like, or be able to represent myself in the process. Otherwise, provide me with a basic face that is already hidden by a mask, so I don't need to worry about this. If a game allows me to customize my character, well, you betcha I'm gonna wanna see my character's face during cutscenes, but sadly he is just more or less of an inconvenience. Although not a big deal, and it might be viewed as a negative aspect, the fact that you cannot hide your backpack, in our opinion, it's something that we wish the developers would consider. Although we played quite a significant time, Armea has confirmed that even if she progressed further than I did, she didn't discover any kind of options to change this or hide your backpack in any other way, because to be honest, a lot of the armors that you will pick or encounter along the way do not match the basic backpack that you will have and you will carry throughout the whole game. So that's definitely a weird design choice, and I really hope that these are some tweaks or changes that they will implement, or maybe add future backpacks that will have a different kind of design so you can pick and choose which one you want for the type of armor you're gonna carry. One thing I want to mention as well is the fact that you can customize whatever armor you want to pick, which is great, and you can mix and match however you want to look, but some armor do feel a little bit that are meant to work out with others, while others simply don't match up at all. So it's all up to you. You have that freedom to go ahead and pick how you want your armors to look like. But yeah, it's not like something too extensive, although I do think the armors overall look really good and they're a significant improvement, although very similar to the original, if I remember well. Now let's talk about the story a little bit, because although this game doesn't focus primarily on telling a very compelling story, it does have improvements in some areas. Characters, as I've said, they're much more well fleshed out, there's more lore to explore, and characters do have more to tell you, and conversations will carry out throughout the game a lot more often than it did in its predecessor. I felt that some characters are more interesting than the others, and you will have interesting dialogues that you will have with each one of them. The story continues from where it picked up last time, with a little bit of twist and a gap between years, to say the least. Of course, if you haven't played the first one, you're not really missing out too much, because the game is gonna present itself. It's gonna tell you which character is which are reoccurring characters that are coming back, or you haven't really discovered in the first one and now they're presented. So it's all up to you to discover, but the story itself is not as complex and deep, or something that this game is strongly renowned to be good for. In our opinion, if you really want to have fun with your friends, I think this game simply shouldn't have a story, or for whatever reason the story itself is good enough to keep you entertained throughout the game. Of course, to give you a brief rundown, basically you're in this magical world where you have been corrupted by the root, and this root is some sort of alien form that is able to corrupt worlds. In the first one, you are fighting the root and you're trying to help out other worlds to not be infested by it, while here you continue the story as you progress throughout the game. So the root is not completely obliterated, it's still part of how the game is, but it has different twists and turns. There are new characters and new antagonists introduced in the world, and bosses do carry out telling their own lore, how they look like, the world, the design is telling its own story. I found it really fascinating just by simply going out and exploring. Some things really do change with procedural generated maps, especially after you finish the campaign. You get to go again and play the game, and every single time you go and explore the map, it always looks different. It always changes for every person, so they never have the same kind of encounters or layout of the map, which is great and can tell its own story. So that's a really big plus and a big improvement over the first one, because replayability really feels improved in this regard, and I appreciated that. I didn't get to play to the late game, but Armea did play quite a lot, and she enjoyed all these maps looking different, and every time you hop in somebody else's map, they distinctly look different, so you're always gonna be exploring, finding new things, and as you progress, you will encounter new characters that will help you out in your quest to discover what's going on in this world, which we're not gonna explain much more. But definitely, if you want to explore this world, do know that the lore itself, as I said, is not the strongest thing, but it's a nice addition and it's a slight improvement overall. Although we haven't tested this game out on the Steam Deck, we know it is playable, but due to the fact that this game is kind of poorly optimized for older device, it struggles to have a good frame rate for Steam Deck. So keep in mind that we did only a little bit of research to see if this game really runs well for Steam Decks, but overall it kind of struggles, so I would not suggest suggest picking this game up if you're planning to play it on the Steam Deck, or just be aware that you might need to do a couple of tweaks. Of course, you can use a controller for this, works pretty well, although I feel like using the mouse and keyboard is much more ideal. A few glitches and bugs we've encountered, like for example T-posing characters and floating monsters and stuff like that I've seen throughout the game. Not something that I would say that is game breaking or problematic per se, so I would say that the game is fairly well optimized for consoles but may struggle a little bit for PC. When it comes to reviewing this game, we would like to score it at very good. This is our review system. Basically this is like an 8 for those who are not familiar with how we like to review our games, and yeah, very good game in our opinion. We think it delivers a great experience in its own genre, although it doesn't improve significantly over the predecessor or other games of its type. We think it does a great job at being a fun experience, especially if you're playing this one with your friends or other people, and we definitely think you're gonna have a great time overall. It's a slight improvement as well when it comes to the storytelling, which is great. We think the story is a lot more interesting this time around, therefore it deserves to have this kind of score. Previous game was good, but it wasn't a perfect game. It really had some flaws, and these flaws have been corrected in this one, but with slight alterations, and we're really hoping that the next entry is gonna deliver on a much more interesting story, because we really think this game is lacking that strong narrative, and honestly I think it would captivate a lot more people if it focused on that. I know that they're trying, and with the game as it is right now it is definitely improved, but anyway, it's not there yet. Still, I think the game is worth checking out. We highly recommend playing this game, and for its price you get a lot of content, a lot of replayability, and a lot of things to look forward to. Future content we are not very sure if the developers are gonna bring, but we're more than sure that you're gonna enjoy your experience in what the game currently has to offer. Anyway, that was our review. Let us know in the comments, what do you think about the game? Have you tried it? Have you been considering to try it? Have we managed to help you change your mind? Have we managed to help you in deciding if you want to pick this game out? Let us know in the comments down below. Also, if you want to support our channel and share this with other people, all you have to do is like this video, and if you want to help us further, subscribe to our channel, as it helps us a lot to reach our goal to 1000 subscribers, so we cannot do it without your support. And if you want to be notified every time we post something new, dinging the bell is the best way to do it. And one more thing that we really want to say is you should join our Discord. We do monthly giveaways over there. We have 3 giveaways currently running over there: Dave the Diver, the Pathless, and Journey. This month it has been voted by our community that we are gonna go with a cozy adventure time where you get to just chill and have a good time. And if you want to take part in these giveaways, all you have to do is join our Discord. The link is in the description below. It's very easy, and anybody who wants to be part of our community can join us. These giveaways are a way for us to give out to our community, so if you're interested in that, we would really appreciate it. And furthermore, if you really want to be a part of a community that loves games of all types, you can definitely do so, because we have people that love all kinds of games, from racing to strategies to RPGs to action adventures to open world to any kind of genres. So there's everything for everybody, and I know that might be a little bit kind of a mix, but we wanted to keep it in such a way that you feel that this community speaks to you, and maybe you find your flock inside our community. So join our Discord. We welcome everybody. Anyway, that's all for today. My name is Vashal, and together with Armea, this has been a Tellplay review video. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, take care, stay safe, and happy gaming.